Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Steady Funds with Maiwa Adeosun, and today we're going to be talking about growth business. A growth business is predominantly focused on steady, mid-sized revenue. It's a revenue business, to be honest. So anything that is just revenue based and revenue focused could be considered a growth business. We're going to get into some of the characteristics. We're going to talk about some of the advantages, disadvantages, financing options, and of course we're going to end with some examples. So let's get into it. Okay, firstly, let's talk about the characteristics. The first characteristic of a growth business is going to be the presence of a board of directors. Typically, because again, you're focused on revenue, you're going to need to make sure that you have good guidance and direction comes from having an established board of directors. So that's the first characteristic. The second characteristic is going to be having a professional management team. A professional management team is obviously different to having an owner-operated management, which we saw in the first video that we did last week regarding lifestyle business. With a professional management team, you're going to have experienced hires, and they're going to come with their wealth, with their knowledge, and that way you're going to be able to focus on growing your revenue for the business. The third characteristic of a growth business is going to be financial reporting. Again, growth business is all about the numbers, it's all about revenue. And to be sure that you're making revenue, to make sure that you're profitable, you're going to need to have a financial report that indicates that. The fourth characteristic of growth business is going to be mid-sized growth rates. Mid-sized really because you're not necessarily trying to do something groundbreaking or undone. You're trying to do something that has proven, tested, reliable ways of making revenue. And you're doing that consistently over the years and you're competing in those markets. So mid-sized growth rates would be a growth business. Okay, so let's move into some of the advantages of a growth business. The first advantage we're going to have as a growth business is easy access to capital, right? So as a growth business, you're most likely going to have assets and you're also going to have traction. Once you have assets and traction, those are two things that lenders and investors like to see because it gives evidence to the fact that their money will be safe and secured. The second advantage of a growth business is going to be leveraging on your board of directors and your professional management team, and that gives you the expertise and the network of your team members. So as a growth business with the board of directors and the management team, you have a plethora of information and a plethora of a network, as opposed to only having your own expertise and your own network as an owner-operated business, like you might have in a lifestyle business. So next, we have the third advantage of a growth business, which is opportunity for exit. Once you've been able to get your business to be consistently making decent revenue year on year, you now have the opportunity for exit. You can sell your business to a larger business. You can also sell your business to a private equity firm that might want to add that to their portfolio. And you have many options, right, as a growth business if you're making consistent revenue year on year. So those are the advantages. It's not exhaustive. You probably will see some more advantages, but I wanted to share those with you just to give you an idea. So next, we're going to be talking about the disadvantages of the growth business. So the first disadvantage for growth business is going to be lack of control, right? So as a growth business, as I mentioned prior, you're going to have a board of directors, you're going to have a professional management team, you're going to have lenders, you're going to have investors. All these different stakeholders are going to have an influence on your business, right? So you're going to lose control in that regard as a growth business. But not to worry, everybody hopefully should be on the same page, and that necessarily doesn't make it too bad. But control is going to be a disadvantage for a growth business. So the second disadvantage for growth business is going to be work-life balance. Unfortunately, we can't have it all. Yeah, we either have the revenue or we have the comfort. And unfortunately, the growth business is going to be predominantly focused on revenue, which means the business is going to be put at forefront ahead of anything that you might have in terms of a work-life balance. So that is a disadvantage for a growth business, and it's something that you need to prepare for if that is something you're interested in. The third disadvantage to a growth business is going to be personal fulfillment. And this is a tricky one because, yes, you might find instances where you can get personal fulfillment from what you do. Maybe you just enjoy making money. That's just something that's fulfilling to you. But for many growth businesses, it's not, the actual business operations is not really something that they are so keen on. For example, selling cement is not the most exciting business to be in, but it does make a lot of revenue and it does generate income. So for that reason, it is a desirable business. Another disadvantage for a growth business is going to be high overheads. All of these professional management team, the staff, the board of directors, and so on and so forth, they don't come for free. And so you're going to expect to have quite a big overhead and wage bill and operating expense at the end of the month and at the end of the year. So you need to prepare yourself for that. And that also speaks to why the characteristic of having a financial reporting is very important. So that way you make sure that your expenses are not getting out of hand. Okay, so now we've spoken about the advantages and we've also discussed some of the disadvantages. Let's talk about funding options for a growth business. And the very first one that we're going to talk about is going to be VC, right? So some VCs, venture capitals, are going to be interested in growth businesses because of the possibility for expanding a particular market. So VC is going to be one of the options. And I'm sure you can, if you do your research, you can find out which VCs in your region are interested in your particular industry and acquiring your particular customer base. So that's the first option. The second option for funding for a growth business is going to be PE, which also stands for private equity. These are businesses that are really looking at mid to large size businesses that have a well-established customer base that would probably want to come in and buy the business for the possibility of flipping and making a return later on down the road. So a PE would also be an option for financing in a growth business. The third option for financing in a growth business is going to be your financial institution, your banks, your commercial banks, your merchant banks, and they are going to be pretty much your business partners going throughout the lifespan of the business, because they are going to be looking at your assets, they're going to be looking at your transactions, and they're going to use that to assess the type of credits they can give you, because at the end of the day you're going to pay interest on the finance, and that's how they make their money. So a bank is going to be a good option for you in terms of financing as a growth business. Another option for growth business, which is similar to the VC PE option, is going to be angel investors. Now this really only works for early stage businesses that are looking to continue on the revenue generating model as a growth business. You can actually find angel investors, individual angel investors that might be interested in investing early stage and growing with you as a growth business. Now the last financing option would be crowdfunding. Crowdfunding has become incredibly popular in these modern times, and that's pretty much where you can just go to the market and get the public to help you with raising funds for maybe a particular project or for just equity. That is an option, but of course be careful with crowdfunding because there are a lot of regulations around crowdfunding. So you need to be sure that you have the appropriate licensing and whatnot for you to access that type of capital. So those are the lists of options for financing for growth business. Okay, so we're on to the examples of growth businesses. So I'm not going to give you exact names. I'm not being sponsored. So let's just go with describing what an example of a growth business would look like. So a growth business would probably look like an established business, a business that's been running for a number of years. And you probably see this business as a mid-sized to large-sized company, right? So this is what we can consider as a growth business. And again, you can also look at franchises. Franchises, maybe you're looking at your eateries, you're looking at your hotels, you're looking at anything that has like a brand name that typically you see in different locations will most likely be a growth business. So I hope all this information helps. This is really just for your knowledge and for your benefit. And if you like this information, if you like this content, please don't forget to share, subscribe, and click the notification bell to be updated anytime we release a new video. And I will see you in the comment section. Until next week.